Mm.
Okay, so as Anton said, I'm here today to present you all the activities that we are planning to participate in, all that's going to happen in GameDev Técnico for the next month. But I'd like to start with the activities that are currently ongoing. So, still from March, we are currently participating in Nano Reno. It's still ongoing with the two teams, and we have already participated in the another jam, the Games Drops Live Game Parade, also with two teams. So, four teams in total participating this month. Actually, the that previous jam will be presenting both teams later today. So for April, we'll be introducing three gems. For those of you that haven't joined us for a session earlier, we usually suggest a few gems for you to participate in, and then you can form teams with people here um, to do your best, create a game, and have something to be proud of after a small period of time. So the first gem that we will try to participate in for April will be the Black and White Jam. We've participated in this one in previous editions. Um, Although the title may be a bit misleading, you don't have to make a game in black and white, but you have to make a game in only two colors. Otherwise, the genre of the game doesn't really matter. You are free to do whatever you wish. The team is going to be voted on their Discord. So once the teams are created, we advise that you join their Discord and participate in that voting ceremony. And the gem is also going to be ranked, so you know how you performed um, in art, sound, based on ratings from other players and other participants. The other jam is Clicker Jam, Spring 2022. It will run from April 2nd to April 9th. And this one is a little more freeing in terms of requirements because you only have to create a clicker. Uh, for those of you that don't know what a clicker is or an incremental game, it's a game where your score is always going up, sort of like an AFK game. Um, your score is always going up, and there are some elements that you need to click to make it go faster, and then you can buy upgrades to make the overall score go a lot faster, or to gain any sort of benefits. Here the logo is kind of relating to a famous clicker called Cookie Clicker, where you can buy factories and increase the cookie production. So that's a game. That's the type of game that you'd have to create, and there's no limit on platform. The organizers even joke that you can create a clicker even in Minecraft. It's whatever you want to do. Um, um, and in terms of style, also there are no limits. And we included this especially because I don't think we ever had a clicker before, and it also brings some variety to the type of games that we make here. And I hope that you find it interesting. The last gem that we have for April is an internal gem that we are going to be preparing, which will run from April 15th to April 22nd. This gem, we want to use it to have a lot of social activities for you to connect with each other. It comes in line with the previous gem that we made during Christmas, in which we also had this type of meetings online, unfortunately, where we could meet each other, we could have some fun, play some games together. We don't know yet if the how it's gonna work, if it's gonna be all online or if we'll have some on-site activities as well, because we're still evaluating how COVID and all that is progressing. But that's something that we'd like to do. This jam is also going to be connected with the partner event that we'll have, which in which this will be talked more in depth later, but it's for now we can say that it's an event where we'll be in contact with the industry professionals and people from our partnerships and alumni, um, and that will basically be the culmination of this internal jam. Uh, with that meaning. But again, this is going to be explained once that event in particular is fully announced um, later on. Finally, I just wanted to refer the Nordic Game Jam, which we will also be participating on, but this is a bit different from the jams that we have participated in the past. This jam is in Denmark, so we will bring we'll bring people from GameDev to represent us across Europe. Um, this is also a paid jam with tickets, so we are only opening them for members and alumni. And right now we are not accepting more participants. We are already building the teams that are going to go represent us in the best possible way. But wanted to inform you that this is something that we'll be participating in also in April. As for the activity plan, that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Nice. So finally, we are going to Nordic Game Jam in the presential state. So perhaps we can start now with the Game Jam presentations. Parade Game Jams, Team 1 or Team 2 wants to start? Right, nobody wants to start. So perhaps my team, we can start first. Team 1, are you there?
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay, nice.
Okay.
You are all together.
Bom
So can you
dia.
start the share screen? And we can start the presentation.
Oh, sorry. So, hi everyone. Today we are going to show our game that we made to the Game Parade Jam. So basically, the team was composed by of André Antunes, Diogo Silva, Lisa Jorkovic, Guilherme Pereira, and Alexandre Duarte. We had three programmers, André Antunes, Diogo Silva, and me, a writer / game designer, Guilherme Pereira, and just one artist, Lisa. Guilherme and I are newbies, so it was a good experience for us to learn. Next slide. The brainstorming. The brainstorming was definitely one of the most fun moments of the jam. Every Light Counts was a team that brought us a lot of ideas, too many even. As you guys can see in this very informative voting system that we made, it was very hard to decide which idea we wanted to implement. But in the end, we agreed to do something not so familiar with us, a card game. Next.
Okay, I think it's my turn, right? Okay, so the main concept was created from like two ideas that we had. One of which was a paper please like game. The papers please. I think most of the people are familiar with the game and the idea of like a story-driven like point-and-click game, and a card game where a cult is trying to summon a demon, an evil overlord. So we couldn't decide on like one or two ideas, and we decided to join them. Yeah, I think you can go to the next slide then. And the narrative is basically what I just explained. Is a story-driven card-based card game. Basically, you are the shop owner who is trying to sacrifice his customers to the Dark Lord waifu. The art was inspired on Don't Starve and a Belgian movie that is called The Suicide Shop, which has a very lovely, which is a very lovely animation move.
So about the card game, we knew that the card game would be the core gameplay of the experience. So we had to come up with it with a system in 48 hours, and we learned that that's quite a challenge. But we managed to make do, and we tried to make a guessing game, a combination between a guessing game and resource management game. The main objective of the card game is to guess the client's card, which has a number, a suit, and a color. The player initially has 17 cards per day, and he can only hold 7 in hand. Each card gives them a bit of information when played, like the numeric cards says if the number of the player's card is above or below the one played. The suit says if the client's card has that suit or not. Then we have like an even card and a double digit card. And basically it's our core gameplay. We have two phases. Yes, this one first phase when we try to guess the card of the client and and how much we guess it gives us clues about which item can we sell to the player in order to kill him. Because if we kill the player, we get souls. We harvest souls, like Lisa said, to summon our Dark Lord waifu. But if we don't, we alert the police, and each client uh, will have souls. That's the number of souls and how much they can alert the police. So the player must make sure that you kill somebody that will probably alert a lot of police, because if we alert them too much, we will lose the game. And in the end, we beat the game if we harvest enough souls before the first day starts, without alerting enough the police. That's basically the card game that we came up with in these 48 hours. You can pass the slide now. So basically programming, we use Unity as always. It was quite challenging in 48 hours because there's a lot of logic behind this game. There were a lot of main scripts managers in Unity. Me and Diogo, we were the main programmers, and a lot of times we had to how do you say, um, conjugate our scripts, our codes, because sometimes we had thoughts logically in one way and the other was thinking in another way, and we had to backtrack sometimes so everything could come up together. But in the end, it was quite I wouldn't say easy, but I would say it wasn't stressful because this Game Parade Jam, they gave us 4 days for bug fixing, so we lived a lot of bug fixing for after the delivery. And you can pass the slide now.
So, as we said before, the game jam we entered was organized by Games Jobs Live, and well, its name was Game Parade. Um, it I think it was all of our first time entering this particular jam. But it was really interesting to see all the partners that were involved. There were a lot of studios, even Universal was there. Um, and the way this works is we make the game. Then a thing I hadn't seen before, there's a polishing phase where you can polish the game better after the first phase, and then the community can rate the game. After that, they go through the partners for them to see the games and give them a rating too. And then there's an internal rating phase. So our game is going to have a pretty good feedback, if I'm guessing, which is really good since we wanted to see where this leads us. Either way, the the gem itself was really well organized. I even joined their Discord to see what was going on there. They were all really friendly. Um, I would definitely like to join again.
Yeah, just one thing to clarify. The jam wasn't 48 hours. Like I said that we needed to come up with the game system in 48 hours because our group wanted to just waste 2 days on making up the game design and game system. So we had 48 hours to make up the game system, but the jam was 1 week.
Yes.
So, in terms of final results, and I think I can speak for the whole team when I say that I'm quite proud of the game that we came up with. I had never done a card game before, and I think we managed to come up with a system that is both simplistic enough that anyone can understand it, but has enough complexity that once you get into it, once you actually get your claws into it, your teeth into it, you actually get quite gripped by both, what you're doing, the whole narrative. Guillermo's writing was amazing. Lisa's art was amazing, and working with the other two programmers, Andre and Alexandre, was really nice. I really like the team chemistry, and I think we worked well together. And I think that we have the right to be proud of the work that we managed to put out there. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything or if anyone has questions.
Anybody ask questions here or in Twitch chat? No? So we can move on. Congratulations to you. I have to make I have to do this job. So, but the game is quite pretty, and I think it was quite an achievement for all of you. So congratulations. And next we had 2 games on Parade Jam. So now it's the time for the second team.
Hi. So, who wants to share the screen? It's my team here.
I have the slides open. I can share.
Oh, okay.
Let me just over here. Share screen. Is everybody seeing it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so our game is called Lost Souls. It's the game we made for the Games for AGM 2022. So the theme of this jam was Every Life Matters, and we had a lot of ideas of how to proceed. Though eventually, because we had two 3D artists, we decided to do a more narrative-based game, which we could do like a first-person environment in 3D and populate with assets and focus more on presentation. So we ended up with two concepts. One was mine, which was inspired by Being John Malkovich, which is an amazing movie where John Cusack discovers a portal into John Malkovich's mind and can possess him for 15 minutes. So it was this idea of a man who possessed other people and eventually could take him over forever to prolong his life. And it was about the past lives of the person and exploring them. And we had this concept idea, which was a marching band, and you had to gather various people, and each people had an instrument. So it was about building this melody. So we eventually combined both concepts. So the story of our game is that a man had a girlfriend and she started to change and he didn't really realize why. So he went to this mansion that she supposedly had and he didn't know how because her family wasn't really rich, so she couldn't have inherited it. And he's gonna find out what happened, why she suddenly became different. Patricia?
In our game, we had to, after every snippet, we collected instruments. This was my first time actually composing. I'm a violinist, and it was kind of a challenge. I'm more used to arranging pieces, and this was my first time. I just have a screenshot of the project where I worked on. I used Reaper. Um, the instruments we have in our game are harp, cello, and violin. The violin and the cello were recorded by me, but the cello is pretty much the violin but altered in the program, and the harp is a MIDI instrument.
Alright, so our first instrument was the violin, and it tells the story of a car factory worker, one who dreams about being a pilot one day. The gameplay is very simple. There's those two end cranks you can see on the screen, and by rotating the left one, you give power to the plane. By rotating the right one, you make the level scroll. The plane is controlled by WASD, and as the level goes scrolls through the screen, so does the story.
So our second vignette is a hedge maze with as you progress, you get to see more text, which is that 3D text in Unity. So we actually got a generator for the maze online, and I basically it has two parameters, which is how long the hedge maze is, the solution, which we cranked to the max so we could have more text, and I think it was how long or how short the dead ends are, which we also cranked that up. And it was interesting because we were going to set it up with like a grid of bushes, and that was being so annoying. I went in desperation went to see if there was an easier way, and it turns out there actually was, because in that website, hidden in the help, there was actually a way to download it as an SVG, and João could do his magic to turn that into this uniform mesh in Blender. So that saved us a lot of time setting up the maze.
So our initial idea for this third story was to have some Okami style combat. You like strike through enemies to defeat them. And we had this plan because we were supposed to have the code for that already working. Turns out we very much didn't, so we had to scrap that out and put something together for this third story. And what we got was a carnival style shooting range where you have these three types of targets differentiated by size that you have to shoot, and whenever you shoot one it gives you points. When you reach a certain number of points you get another sentence of the story.
Now to talk about a bit about the house layout and some of the 3D assets. In the start, as we decided we wanted to have three vignettes, we also decided that we wanted three different rooms that could be explored and find the object that could start the minigame. So in the start, I had a few ideas that involved the house with two floors, but eventually I scrapped that out and ended up with a more nuclear house with a central room and a few rooms that could born from that central room, and some of the rooms were empty to explore. Some of the assets I wanted. Can you pass the slides, please? I was aiming for more the vintage style house, so I had a lot of inspiration from wood furniture and some more classical assets. So I did a whole library of assets that could be used to populate the house in later states. And can you pass? Again, the final product ended up looking pretty good in terms of what was aiming for. The walls and the ceiling, it combined really well with the furniture that I choose, and overall it was the theme of the house was good. The only part that I think I missed was the scale, because the house ended up being a bit too big, and there's a lot of empty space that can't be populated because the scale is just a bit off. So it was my first time doing a bit of level design, or at least the main layout, and I learned some things that I would change in future gems. And the other 3D assets were made by Barbara, so I'm gonna pass to her now.
So in this gem, I made some assets. I didn't have enough time because I thought the gem it would be 2 weeks, and it's just only 1 week. But I learn some things because his style was vintage and it has a lot of curves. So I learned some things. And I think for the next gem, it will be important to use GitLab and GitLab because sometimes I don't have so many notion where the things I should do, and it is.
These were the assets I made. I made 3D assets and 2D assets. Um, I only had time to do the violin, and the cello is pretty much an adapt violin. I just modeled the little, let's say, foot of the cello and changed the proportions. Can go to the next slide. Uh, the plane was from World War I because of the time context in the game, and I also made some clouds inspired on illustrations from that time in journals, magazines, that type of illustration.
So if you want to play the game, which we would appreciate, here's the link, and we really hope that you enjoy it.
Congratulations. Is there anybody any questions? No, not in Twitch. No. Okay. Yeah, I think you all should be proud of what you did. The 3D art is it's really good, and there's something in the game. I need to spoil this part, which I really loved. If you basically beat a vignette, a mini game, you get another instrument in your main music of the game. So it was quite a nice touch, and I really liked it when I played. So congratulations to the team. Congratulations to both teams. I think we had two amazing games for Parade, and now it's time for another game jam with two teams too, right? The Inspire one. Which one wants to present first?
I have the slides here.
Okay,
You
okay.
can just go.
So go ahead.
Assuming my team is here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm here. I'm here.
Who starts? I don't remember.
I think it's you.
It's me. Okay, so our game for the Inspire Jam was pummeling a la carte. So the idea of this jam is to make games based on things that inspire you. So at the start, we just kind of made a list of our favorite games. We really went to every group member and went, "What's your favorite game?" And so we were trying to figure out combinations. And I actually had this one before the jam because I remembered um, Marisa's favorite game was Okami, and I had seen a YouTube video that would help me in this jam. So we ended up combining my favorite game, which is Final Fantasy VI, and her favorite game, which is Okami. And we'll talk about specifically how later.
In this jam, I was the one creating the narrative because we decided to have a game where the narrative was important. When we were considering the concepts, some of the ideas that came into our mind were making a game about simple concepts. See, one of the concepts on the table was making a game about cooks, like a cook show. That's why I have the Master Chef in there. It was also influenced by that snippet in Undertale where Metaton puts on this game show, and it was pretty much a mixture between the two. And what we got was a cooking show where it's pretty much a wrestling show. That was what gave us the Pokemon style gameplay. I have in there a part of the scripts, which is the introduction of one of the enemies in the game, and all the script was or either very uh, with a lot of puns or a lot of cooking references?
So in this one, I ended up being in charge of the main character art, and since the theme of the game was a little bit on the ridiculous side, we decided to make it fun and very cartoonish, very just bright, and just like the story itself, a little bit of ridiculous. And I ended up taking inspiration from things like Skullgirls, where it's very cartoonish and it's very nice to the art, but it's also very ridiculous. And then this artist that Patricia sent at during the jam, the name is Nel Mal. I will send their link later. And I and as an example, we had a week more or less to make the game, so we had to simplify the designs but still have them interesting. That's why I have the on the right side of the PowerPoint an example of a simplification of a character. In this case, it's one of Nalnal's characters. And then I ended up coming up with the main character for the game. Which ironically, when I finished it, Patricia pointed it out, and yeah, I realized that it ended up looking a lot like characters from Kids Next Door. Um, so this is our main character fighting with a giant fork and a big, big ketchup bottle on his back. That is Nuggy, our mascot, or our hero's companion. And then when it came to the enemies, ended up coming up since they were supposed to be themed. One was supposed to be a meat chef, the other one was supposed to be a fish chef, and the last one was supposed to be a chef capable of using a little bit of everything. I ended up obviously the first one and the second one, they are kind of obvious, but the last one, I came up with the idea that we all know that grandmas are proficient at every type of cooking. So that is Granny Smith, our last and hardest boss. uh, Patricia did the backgrounds for this one, and they were very simple. They were just the for the narrative. We had the one where it was the backstage of the cooking show, the and then you had the very Pokemon style looking just in the arena already in front of the cameras of the cooking show, where since it was very much Pokemon inspired in that part, they have bases, and we decided to make the bases look like kitchen burners because we thought that would be fun.
For the combat mechanics, we went for a system that would be a turn-based battle like early Final Fantasy or Pokemon. We created a system of elements, which we have three elements, each represented by a different food. You can see there meat, fish, and vegetables, in which you can see there is a relationship of which element is strong against which element. In addition, we created three other moves: attack, defend, and heal, in which the idea is to the player to mix the elements with these moves to have more options and be more effective in battle. And that's pretty much the battle. The player has to be when it goes to a fight, has to be aware of the enemy's element, so he can decide what element to use or not at all, because the enemy could just see what we are doing. You just you can spam the opposite element and win with that. So we have to be a little bit smart with that. And that's it for the
So this was a video that I ended up seeing that put the idea of Okami in my head, which is by this great channel called Mix and Jam, which they recreate famous game mechanics. They even have a video on like Batman Arkham Combat or the Metroid Dread Speed Booster. And while the quality of the tutorials could be a bit better because he keeps the videos short, he has the entire projects on GitHub. So I literally just downloaded that and started adapting the code to work into our game. And for the battle system, I first started following this tutorial by Brakis on turn-based combat, and then quickly realized that it sucked because it didn't take into account unit speed, and also it wasn't really scalable. The AI of the enemy was hard-coded into the battle system itself, so I needed to think of my own and improvise a little bit. So I'm just going to open up Unity to show you how this whole thing works. So basically we have a battle scene right here, and loading. I have two cameras, a barrel camera which shows the game, which exists entirely in UI, and a paint camera which overlays whatever I draw on here. So if you notice here, this is a drawing prefab, and this is essentially a line renderer, and for uh, each movement it has a point, it's a stroke. So you can see that this abomination here added all of these points. So I have this class, which was from Mix and Jam, which I adapted a little bit, which is the line manager, which has basically I can save patterns using another scene, resources, moves, as XML files with points, and it uses something which is the P dollar point recognition, which is basically it checks points by pairs and sees what shape they make. So it's like a point recognition system. So basically this is code, so it paints and it recognizes and it adds a list and it tries to recognize everything and clear. I think the only things I really um, modified was sometimes if a player holds the mouse button like I'm doing for too long, it adds a stroke that is unnecessary. So it adds like an extra point and it doesn't show up, but it's contributing to the recognition. So I deleted the line renderers with not enough points. There's like a threshold. So for the battle system, it's mostly routines because for the dialogue to be on screen for a few seconds. So it's literally uh, I have each unit choose the moves and I see in which order they play out. So when they choose a move, I go to this other class, which is unit moves.instance.perform move, and I pass on each of their moves and their units so I can see their stats. Which basically I have this gigantic class which has every move in the game. And so when I have to perform a move, I see who is performing it, what move they're making, and I basically just make every math I need to do. If the move will hit, what damage will it, if it's critical, what damage it will do if it was critical, what defense I use, because if I defend, there needs to be double the defense, and I also take into account type advantages. So I do all of this math, and then basically I have a switch case, which is for every attack I play a sound and I check if it will hit and display the correct message and take the right damage and display the message, and it just goes on and on. The enemies have a simple reactive AI. I simply pass them the state of the player right now, their uh, their last move, and the last move of the player. So they only react based on the last turn, basically. And so I see what move I have a if else system. I check what move they do, and that's basically it. Back to PowerPoint. Gesture recognition was a nightmare because we have 18 gestures, and sometimes I bet this will recognize as something. Let's see. Yes, it recognized as that. So it was kind of hard. This was like the third set of gestures I did because we had some previous ones that were more complicated, and it was just giving us a lot of trouble. So, Tomas?
Um, for the cutscenes and conversations, Carlos, can you show the classes here, please?
I guess it's this one.
First the dialogue line, please. Yes. For the code, with this we went for a dialogue line class that represents the line of text and the two sprites shown. With this dialogue line, we use it in the dialogue holder. The idea is to make the transition from one dialogue line to another dialogue line. Um, the sprites transition is straight and simple, um, but with the text, I choose to add a bit of delay and add letter by letter. And when the player presses the mouse button again, it can just put all the text in the holder. Um, I choose to talk about this because normally in VNs or in other conversations in games, it's not used in. Normally, people use more than just Unity, use other things. But we think this would be really simple, so we really don't saw a necessity for using more than that. Mm, just that.
So, thank you for your attention. The link for the game is right here. I'll be posting it in the Discord and the Zoom chat. And we hope you play it and you enjoy it.
Thank you guys. Good work. The art is quite neat. I wasn't expecting such an in-depth detail on the code, but okay. But perhaps if there are no questions, somebody has questions, no? We can then move to the next game. I heard it's a bit more musical one.
Yes, hello,
Hello.
team.
Hello,
Yep, I am here.
I'm sharing the screen. Yeah, hopefully it's visible. No.
I don't see it.
Okay, wait. I'll do it this way.
Yeah,
Does it
now
show?
we see it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna present Scrims in Tempo, which is our game for the Inspired Jam. It was made by me, Joana, Afonso, and Maria. Maria sadly can't be here today.
Ah.
And so, well, it's a rhythm game. Well, I think most of you know what it is, if not all of you, what a rhythm game is. As normally you would see at least once in YouTube, one of those crazy videos, 100% completed, perfect punctuation, 120% completed, blindfolded. Now with hands tied, and I think that it truly we can't even run away from it, even if you wanted to. But we love them in a weird way, as it has the music in it. And well, oh, we all decided on this topic pretty fast in the beginning, even if Nuno and I had a little bit of our reservations for it, as we were kind of scared of doing a rhythm game, as it was a major challenge because, well, music and a lot of knowledge is needed to normally to make music actually connect to something, and we were a little bit scared, but eventually we all decided that yeah, music is pretty inspiring, and Inspired Gems scream that as inspiring. And like you can see in this little concept art that we put here, we were aiming for a more traditional kind of rhythm game. So no Ozu, no Japanese arcade games in which you do exercise worth of 1 month. No, we were going for the simple Guitar Hero kind of rhythm game.
So I want to talk a bit about the themes of the gem. I really liked how this gem handled themes because you have three modifiers. The basic gem is you need to inspire, show your inspirations. But there are three modifiers which are all optional, and we decided that we wanted to do all of them. So it was a bit hard. The three of them you can see here are touching grass, so we needed to use physical media as an inspiration, subverting expectations, and show the characters in an unfamiliar setting. We started by touching grass, so we looked at all the media that is physical that we could use for our game, and we started taking our favorites, and then we saw which of those we could use for subverting expectations. And then finally we would try to put that character that we chose in an unfamiliar setting, but due to time constraints we were unable to actually accomplish this part. But the idea we settled on later was to use the painting The Scream by Edward Munch and subvert the expectations, because the painting is called The Scream, but we wanted to make it sing, and it would tie in well with the theme of the rhythm jam, the rhythm game. So Joanna is now going to talk a bit about the painting.
Yes, I will. First of all, I'll talk about the possible inspirations we all talked about. We have classical paintings by painters like Vermeer. That's the girl with the pearl earring, Goya with Neptune, if I'm not wrong, eating his son, Van Gogh with his Starry Night painting, and finally we decided with Edward Munch, as Nuno has said. And basically, we try to not really imitate the painting as a whole, but try to differentiate with my painting style and doing a bit of a mix-up, but still giving the feeling that this is the painting, that there's no way you can mistake it. The assets were basically the sprite of our screamer that's singing, the notes that we try to give a feel of being like painty, but still standing, being outstanding before the bridge. That's our lane for them to drop. And the painting was a bit of a mix-up of me painting over and using the original. Nuno has used shaders to make our screamer move, being all squiggly, and he used another thing for the background, so the colors would move in different ways, so it would give this surrealistic look to the painting and everything.
Yeah. So what is the game about? Like I said before, it's a rhythm game. There's really not much to it. Musical notes come down, and you have to press them at the right time. It's either a miss, a good, perfect, and this is really like the biggest mechanic of the game. However, to make the things a little bit more fun, just like Joanna described before, we have Scream there. And like you have seen in the photos below, we put it right besides when you're playing, so that it can give you feedback if you perform well. For example, if you give a lot of perfect notes, you can even make it smile. I dare you. It's hard. God damn, he doesn't smile. And well, and yeah, he will give you feedback. And hopefully he won't be too mean to you, like he was to me. Jesus. And yeah, also the last little thing that I want to say is
Okay.
that is that it's pretty easy to. We made it so it was very easy to put in new songs, so that we can add more levels and new songs as we see fit, and it's very easy to make new stuff into the game, which is pretty cool.
So how was our experience in the jam? I really liked it. I really liked working with this team. Fonse and Maria were newbies, but they were still somewhat experienced, and it was nice to approach a different type of game. I think this is only the second rhythm game in GameDev. So it was very different. We went for a smaller scope. We didn't even get to implement the stranger in a strange land. But I think we all had fun.
For me, I think this was one of the easiest game jams I've ever done. Mostly because we already had a reference for what we want to do, and we didn't have to start from ground zero on making a character or making backgrounds and all this stuff. We had a legit reference, so we could make it quite quickly. And it was quite a chill jam in everything. I don't think anyone like had to be up till 5 a.m. to finish everything. So yeah, it was pretty good experience.
I think that the thing that I most liked on the jam was that I got to work with um, programming in a rhythm game, which I had never even thought about doing, as I never really see. I had never seen like the appeal on doing an efficient game of rhythm, and I always kind of underestimated. And as soon as I went in, I understood that that wasn't the case, and it really gives you a new perspective on programming. Is like predicting the notes and getting times and working with time logic instead of just being a linear thing. And it was a very good experience. And like Joanna said, I'm glad I got to sleep finally for once.
All right, so in closing, I think the main takeaway we had from doing this jam was that you should learn what you want. Uh, in our case, first of all, we did a rhythm game, which is different. But other than that, I got to tinker around with shaders for a lot of the time. I think if I didn't do that, the game would be pretty much pretty different, and the scope would have been bigger. But it's a jam, so just learn what you want. And the second most important lesson is please go beat George's high score. He's too powerful. He's getting too cocky. There's a thread in the play in the playroom chat. So please go beat him. We'll leave the link.
Okay. And here's the game. It's 1 minute. I can play. Should I play the whole video?
You can play it till half, I think.
Okay.
Eu não tenho som.
I don't think it's it
Tens que
doesn't.
partilhar no Zoom.
Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. Wait. Let me get out of the presentation. Wait. How do I? Okay, I'll play it later. But basically, that's how the game works.
Okay, it was what we were seeing, but with music over it.
Yeah.
Okay, congratulations, guys! That the game looks amazing.
Mhm.
I think we had a lot of variety with these two gems, like card games, rhythm games, Pokemon Battle System games. It was really fun to watch it all come together. But right now we're gonna take the next step, right, and start talking about our internal projects that have a little more experience and a little more time spent in the making. So perhaps we can start with Kubus. Are you there, Kubus team?
Yeah, we're here.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Screen. Hold on. Okay, then. Can you see? Okay, so hi everyone. I'm João Patricio. I'm here to present you a little bit about one of the most recent internal projects that we have at GameDev, which is Kubus. And to start, what is Kubus? Kubus at least aims to be a simple but powerful game engine like Unity or Unreal for PC, made in and by GameDev Técnico members, where everything is made out of voxels. And for those who don't know, what is a voxel? A voxel essentially is a pixel but with volume, so a 3D pixel. And it represents, much like a pixel in a screen represents like a section, the voxel represents a sector in a 3D space. And what about Kubus is it unique? What makes it different from other game engines? Why would you use Kubus instead of something else? First, it works with voxels. So that by itself is specific to Kubus. Not like most game engines don't just use voxels as like the basis for the game's rendering and look and all the other systems. They usually use just normal triangles. We plan to have lots of destructibility built into the engine. So if you want to create games with lots of destruction, buildings crumbling, objects falling apart, Kubus might be something you would like to use eventually. We want to also allow for the games to have large render distances. This is also part of the benefit of using voxels, because there are a bunch of techniques we can use to make this possible without too much overhead when we're using voxels. Also, it's built from scratch using C++ and OpenGL, so it doesn't use like any rendering frameworks or engine frameworks that would not that we would not be able to change easily. So everything that's being done, we control. Also, it's an open source project, which is, I think, a first for a project in GameDev Técnico. So eventually, we want this project to be available for the GameDev community at large. So everyone that sees the repo on GitHub can just join, make a pull request, give us recommendations, contribute to the code base. And essentially, we want this project to eventually grow outside of GameDev Técnico. Now, is this a new project? How developed is it? Well, it's neither a new project nor is it finished. There are many things we have already done, but there are also a lot of things we are still left to do. Right now, Kubus basically has a basic renderer, which has deferred rendering, spot directional and point lights with shadow mapping, and the post-processing stack. It also has an input manager with an action system. So if you've used something like Unity's new input system package, we're doing something like that. So you already have actions to work with, and you can bind inputs on your keyboard, on your controller, on the mouse, pretty much all in the same way without too much overhead when you're thinking about it. We're also working already on voxel meshing, so converting voxels to triangles so they can be drawn in the GPU. Eventually, we want to change the way we're drawing things, but right now that's what we're doing. And we also have some basic debugging capabilities, so logging, drawing debug cubes, spheres, basic stuff that you can use to test what you're doing in Kubus. And the bigger list is not what's done, it's what's left to be done. And for now, some of the things that we want to do are physics, audio, an actual level editor that you can use inside Kubus, much like you use the Unity editor to make Unity games. We want to try our hand at ray tracing, because that would probably be more efficient when you're working with voxels. We still have to work on the actual destructibility part, and eventually we want to overhaul our renderer so it's more programmable, more customizable, and that you can make some more interesting effects using the renderer. And a bunch of other things that if I stayed here and talked about all of them, we wouldn't be done by tomorrow. So what if we want to make a game with Kubus? Well,
That's where I come in. So I was tasked with coming up with a game that would act as a tech demo for Kubus. I also made that lovely logo. Jean, please move on. So when we were thinking about what would be a game to show off this engine, that wouldn't be just like an actual game, not just something small like a tech demo. We wanted to focus on what Kubus had that was unique. So large environments, destructibility, and we wanted the game to have a distinct identity, so it would stand out. So I came up with this idea to combine two games, which is F-Zero GX and Burnout 3. Partly because there have been zero racing games made here in GDT, and I thought that would be something fun. So put this in next slide, please. So the idea is that in F-Zero GX, your boost is also your health. So the more you boost, the more vulnerable you are to impacts from other racers. So you gotta manage both your speed at keeping ahead in a race, but also be careful not to be too weakened. So you can reach enough boost pads which restore your health. In Mario 3, the whole thing is about risk and reward racing. It's a street racing game. You are out in the city, there are cars everywhere, and the more dangerously you drive, the more boost you get. So if you are on the wrong side of the road, you're getting boost. If you have near misses, you're getting boost. If you drift or you jump, that's more boost. If you take, if you bump another racer or just wipe them out, that's more boost. In fact, wiping them out usually get increases your bar by another third, so you can get even more boost as you go on. So it was the idea of combining this risk reward and adding the extra layer of also having it be your health, making it even more tense. So we're playing a very simple racing game. It's the usual controls: accelerating, braking, and reversing. You have a boost, of course. You can steer your car and drift. And we can also have a different camera perspective. So first person, maybe one on the nose of your car, and a typical third person one you expect from a racing game. For the art style, we're thinking of something very cartoony, so, but in voxels. One of the inspirations we have is New Donk City from Mario Odyssey. It kind of has that vibe we wanted to go, but of course it's going to be in voxels. And for the tracks, we're also going to play something I call Sonic the Hedgehog logic, where the cities just have loops and corkscrews and whatever other crazy elements you want to think of. So we're not really bound by the laws of reality. We can just do whatever crazy thing we want. For the track design, we want to feel like it's an authentic street race in a city. Since one of the things we want is large environments and render distances, we want to feel like the track is part of a bigger city. So, as you could in Burnout, the cars are moving out and about like it's an actual city, but the player has these barriers you can see in red or in yellow further ahead, which block you from accessing other parts of the city. So that's kind of what we're gonna have. It's like an itinerary within a bigger city. We want plenty of opportunities for racers to take down each other and have interesting combat opportunities. We're also gonna have plenty of ramps so players can jump and land on other cars and do other fun stuff like that. And we also want to have, for example, bigger and more scripted jumps between track segments. So, for example, imagine on an overpass and you go through a ramp and jump down into the road below. That's a bit more controlled. For distractibility, for now, there's not much sense in playing for something like you bump a car and you see individual voxels destroying themselves according to the impact because that's really advanced. But we do want distractibility. We want to see voxels flying. So we're going to have a lot of props throughout the tracks that the players can run through and just smash, like water barrels and fences or cafe signs and other smaller things that we could implement destructibility on a smaller scale.
Okay, now for a very, very small demo. This is something that we prepared using what we already have made in Kubus. So everything that's been shown here, that's gonna be shown here is using all of the things that we've made so far. Hopefully it works. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so basically we already have a little car here, and it can move around, and it also already has drift and some particles. It's very basic. It's not super complicated, but you can already see that there's shadows, there's already lighting. Post-processing is not being shown here because we still don't have many effects to show, but this is basically our first thing we've made using Cubos. So this, at least for us, this is very exciting, and it would be something you could work on if you joined. Speaking about if you joined, okay, so say you're interested, how do you join the Cubos team? First, we're not asking for people to have any like experience because it wouldn't make sense to ask people, for example, newbies who are starting out in game dev to have super extensive experience, especially using low-level stuff like OpenGL and C++. But as long as you're willing to learn, you'll be welcome here. You can enter to work on the engine, on the game that will demo the engine, or both. We basically are kind of a mix of people here working on all parts of the engine right now because we have to, but you can join and work on the part that interests you the most. If you want to work on the engine, just be aware that it's still in its early stages and we are still working mostly on low-level parts such as the renderer and the management systems, nothing super high level right now. The game, since the engine is in its early stages, is currently mostly in pre-production, so creating the game design document, making prototypes and mockups. Also, next week, if you, before you join the team, you want to learn a bit more in depth about how we're making the engine, how our processes work within the team, we'll be having a more informal briefing this week. We'll announce the date later in Looking for Group, but stay tuned to that, so we'll let you know when we're gonna get together.
Let me just add something. So for the game, we're actually we have no artists on our team right now, so that's something that we're really pushing to recruit. So if you want to try out voxels and do something different, you should join us. Even if you want to do something like concept art and voxels aren't really your thing, that's also helpful. If you're a pixel artist and you want to step up your game and try something new, voxels I think is the next step. So yeah, artists, give us a holler.
Yeah. Okay. So if there's any questions, you can feel free to ask them. You can be in Twitch chat, on Zoom, or just speak up. Otherwise, you can tag us later in any of the channels with the Cubos team handle. Any questions? I can't really see the chat, by the way, so anyone that's...
I think for now there's no questions.
Okay.
But yeah, as Patricia said, the team is on Discord channel, so he's always available to answer to your questions. Congratulations to the team. I think for the first time seeing things move on a real demo from an engine that we made, it was really heartwarming. So congrats to all. And now perhaps we pass on to our oldest project and the most played on events in our stands, the Smash Kart Ultra.
Okay, so I'm here again. Hi, I'm Patrice. Hold up. Share again. Okay. Everything working?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, hi everyone. Today we'll be talking a little bit about the Smash Kart Ultra, and since this is not the first time we're presenting this game, some of you are already probably thinking, again? Yes, this is not the first time we've made presentations for this game. It's not even the first time we're presenting it on a monthly session. However, there's a key difference this time. This time, we're looking for new members to join the development team. Smash Kart Ultra is perhaps the longest running project currently in development at GameDev Técnico, a The team has changed drastically since we started development in late 2020, with people joining and leaving as their game dev journey unfolds. Since now there are a lot of you who are entering the final stage in the recruitment process, we think it would be a good opportunity to join an internal project such as Smash Card Ultra. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. Okay. Okay, sorry. There was a video that was gonna play. I guess it's not cooperating. Um, with this game, you can relive the golden days of your childhood. In Smash Card Ultra, you can play different mini games with or against your friends while having the fun of racing a shopping cart in a supermarket. And what are all these mini games? We have the classic mode, where you will pick items from a shopping list, race through a supermarket, and try to avoid the obstacles. Shrinking platform, where you will be able to push your opponents out of the ring and make sure you survive. Hold the item, where there's only one item in the game, and the team who has the item when the counter ends wins. And raining items, where you have to grab as many items as you can as they fall of the sky. As you may tell from the color coding, Hold the Item has been mostly developed, and we are now starting work on Race with Obstacles. Now we're going to talk a bit about the different areas that you could be working in if you join the team. Be aware that you don't have to work in just one part of the game development team, and you can change what part you're working in as you see fit. So if you, for example, enter as like an artist, you can later start working more on a program or vice versa. It's not rigid. Basically, you work on what you feel most comfortable in or what you're most interested in at the moment. When it comes to the game programming part, we are currently implementing mechanics for the race game mode, polishing the architecture of the codebase, and managing the game's backend services. The game itself is built using Unity, and we use a networking framework called Mirror to handle most of the networking aspects for the game. The game servers and services are run using Amazon GameLift and Elastic Beanstalk, and we use GitHub Actions to automate the deployment process of the game. If any of these technologies sounds interesting to you, it could be interesting to join the programming team.
So the gaming design team right now is responsible for designing the game mechanics and the maps for the game. Let it be from the game design document for the art and programming team to know what to make and implement, or make in-game prototypes for the team to test and outside members. Right now we are finishing the design document for our new and upcoming game mode, the Racing with Obstacles, and are revamping our lobby. And after this, the design team will start working on a new game mode. So if you like creating new mechanics or like designing maps, this is the perfect opportunity for you.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I've been mostly working on UI, and I've been on the art UI team. And if you like working in Blender or Photoshop and creating 2D or 3D assets, then this is something you could be interested in, because it's all of that, but then you take it to Unity and you integrate it all in Unity. You might need to do a little bit of programming, but you mostly work with animating and just integrating things from other programs. So yeah.
Okay, now let's maybe answer a concern that you may have. Since this is a long-running project, you might be worried about not having enough experience or not knowing how to work with the tools that we work with. Probably most of you don't work with at least the networking stack that we use, so that might be something you're worried about, but that's fine. It would be unfair to expect that you have experience with the tools and concepts that we're working with, but as long as you're eager to learn and enthusiastic about working with us, you're welcome. Now, to conclude, these are some of the milestones that are on our radar right now. Don't think of these as like hard deadlines, at least for now, but more as like potential milestones to force us to evolve the game by a particular time. Before any of these or any other milestones becomes like a hard deadline that we have to follow, the whole team would decide together on what the deadline would be and what things we would want the game to have by that deadline. Okay, so to conclude, we would like to thank you for sticking sticking with us for now, and feel free to reach out to any of us in Discord. I'm João. Fabio is on the game design team, and Pauline is on the art team. You can call us individually, or you can tag us with the Smash Cut Ultra team handle. Also, we'll be doing a post on looking for group very soon, so stay tuned for that. And that's pretty much it. If there are any questions, feel free to ask, but if not, I think we can move on.
Okay, nice presentation. Yeah, Smash Card is one of our most played game on events and in our stands. So if you guys want to help a bit develop the game, it's quite a nice experience. So I think basically it's the end. We presented everything. For you newbies to know, there are still more 5 projects in need of new members, but these were the ones that we decided to present here because Smash Kart is the one that needs a bit more new members, and Kubus is like a game engine, so it's a bit different from the other ones. But we will present the other ones in a pitch session, mainly dedicated for that, in the next 1 or 2 weeks. So feel free then to watch that session too, and then to join teams. You can be in one, you can be in 2 teams, and still have time to participate in game jams. So it's up to you, but I have the notion that it's quite a different experience to participate in game jams and in internal projects. It's a different skill set that is needed, and what the learning curve and what you learn, it's quite more in depth, to so per se. But basically, this was everything for today. So I hope you like it, and I hope we see it on next month for those here on the call, and for those on Twitch. See you in about 1 month. So that's it, guys. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Bye bye.
Tchau. Bom fim de semana.